All right, guys, so I've made the arguments a few times that the libertarians are right, okay, on the issue of decentralization, right? We should strive for a more decentralized government in which we should just let blue states do what they want and let red states do what they want, right? Because we obviously can't agree on some things. And I think one issue that the left and the right probably will never agree on is being tough on crime, right? Because leftists, in my opinion, seem to be so gun-ho about being soft on crime in the name of social justice and, trying to fight against systemic racism that they're just lacking common sense, right? They're letting criminals run their cities and their states. That's literally what is happening in California, right? Places like San Francisco, okay, that we've seen that, people are straight up just robbing stores across the city, across that area, right? Walgreens has shut down like 17 of their stores in that city, right? Which has an effect on low income people who can't get access to the goods and services that they need because these stores are being shut down. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what they voted for, right? They voted for that when they voted for Prop 47 that made it a misdemeanor to steal things as long as you're not stealing more than $950 worth of stuff, right? They voted for this when they continued to vote for Democrat politicians in that state like Gavin Newsom and Mayor London Breed, who are soft on crime. So if that's what they want, I say let them have it, right? Let them have it. Maybe that's the way to actually get them to change the way that they actually vote, right? It's for them to experience it. And it's funny to actually hear some of the politicians and the police actually talk about this issue that's going on, particularly in San Francisco, because instead of talking about whether or not the state/city is too soft on crime and whether they should be prosecuting these people more, instead, some of them are talking about whether or not using the term looting is appropriate because allegedly the term looting is racist. Take a look.
Now, some Bay Area police departments have called what happened this weekend looting. We saw similar crimes happen in the wake of the George Floyd protest. But are these weekend crimes truly considered looting? Race and social justice reporter Julian Glover is here to give us some context into that word looting. Julian?
Hi, good evening, Dan. Yeah, if you look up the California law, which I spent some time doing today, the answer is no. According to the textbook definition, these thefts did not happen under any type of state of emergency or disaster. But we know that some Bay Area police departments are calling what we saw looting, others simply calling it organized robbery. Analyst I spoke to today says the distinction matters. Here's why.
The Louis Vuitton store was burglarized and looted. The Burglaries in Westfield Mall was burglarized and looted.
That's San Francisco Police Chief Bill Scott detailing his department's response to a wave of seemingly organized retail theft netting $1 million in stolen luxury goods. Here's San Jose PD spokesman today.
So we're talking about two incidents. We're not going to call this looting. Okay, this is organized robbery is what it is.
He's talking about the $40,000 in merchandise stolen from Lululemon in Santana Row Saturday. Similar crimes hit Hayward and Walnut Creek this weekend, with waves of suspects rushing stores, leading to major losses. But according to the California Penal Code, what we saw was not looting. Looting is theft or burglary during a state of emergency resulting from an earthquake, fire, flood, riot, or other natural or man-made disaster. To some, the distinction may be small, but Lorenzo Boyd, professor of criminal justice and community policing and a retired veteran police officer, told me words matter.
Because looting is a term that we typically use when people of color or urban dwellers are doing something. We tend not to use that term for other people when they do the exact same thing.
To be clear, we don't know the identities or races of the majority of the thieves, but we do know there was no local emergency declared in the Bay Area cities that experienced smash and grabs this weekend. However, the crimes did follow the contentious verdict in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial Friday. A jury found the teen not guilty on all counts for killing two men during a protest against police brutality last year in Wisconsin. Local protests this weekend in response were small and peaceful.
These types of massive organized smash and grabs were happening before the Rittenhouse situation happened. It's a false equivalency. It's people trying to politicize crime.
Do you think that that was an accurate use of the terminology?
This seems like it's an organized smash and grab robbery. This doesn't seem like looting. And we're thinking of scenarios where first responders are completely overwhelmed and folks often maybe on their own.
Martin Reynolds, co-executive director of the Robert C. Maynard Institute of Journalism Education, thinks back to Katrina, when largely black New Orleans residents were labeled looters for crimes of survival, stealing water, food, and supplies before federal government aid arrived.
People draw their own conclusions. If the terminologies that you use are tethered to people's understanding of how they have been used in the past.
And both experts stress the importance of media literacy for viewers like you out there that's thinking critically about the language being used by public officials and also us here in the media. The bottom line, words matter and precision is key as we're all trying to understand these complex issues facing our society. Reporting live, I'm Julian Glover, ABC 7 News.
Yeah, so as you guys see there, the local news is talking about semantics, right? Whether or not it's racist to use the term looting to describe people who are, I don't know, stealing things, right? They're saying, well, it's more appropriate to use the term it is organized robbery, right? As if, you know, we're not using a sophisticated enough term to describe what these criminals are doing, right? Again, this is a distraction from the actual real issue, which is California too soft on crime, right? And I want to actually clarify something here, because I feel like I've said before in the past how I feel about nonviolent crimes versus violent crimes, right? What I classify as a violent crime is a crime that has a victim, right? Like if you are committing a crime that has a victim, then yes, you should be punished to the full extent of the law, and we should not be soft on those people. Now, if it's a victimless crime, like for example, I don't know, using drugs, where the only victim is yourself, or, you know, other things like that, then yeah, I mean, look, we shouldn't be locking those people up forever, right? And not that it even happens that much. I'm just saying in general, right? But when you are looting, right, breaking and entering into stores, that in my opinion is a violent crime. And those people should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. However, that's not what's happening in California, and that is incentivize people to do this, right? This is why they're doing it. But instead of having that conversation, they want to have a conversation about whether the term looting is racist, right? Again, it blows my mind where the liberal priorities are at. But anyways, there are some people who are on the left who happen to be privileged, but we're not necessarily talking about race here, okay? We're talking about wealth that does not think that these types of crimes are a big deal. Right? For example, things like car burglaries, right? As Seth Rogan has went viral for shrugging off the Los Angeles car burglaries, basically saying that it is called living in a big city, right? Says that his car got broken into 15 times or so in LA, and says it's not a big deal, right? Not a big deal to him. So let's actually read about this. Comedic actor Seth Rogan sparked a Twitter frenzy after he shrugged off Los Angeles criminals breaking into cars, suggesting it's simply a part of normal life in a big city. The viral uproar began when the knock-up star reacted to a tweet from YouTube personality Casey Neistat, who wrote on Wednesday, "So our cars got robbed this morning because Los Angeles is a crime-ridden third world-ish hole of a city, and expressed gratitude toward the LA Police Department for arresting the criminal and retrieving all the stolen belongings." Quote, "Dude, I've lived here for over 20 years. You're nuts. Haha." Rogan reacted, "It's lovely here. Don't leave anything valuable in it. It's called living in a big city." Okay, so this guy who's a multimillionaire, right, living in the Hollywood Hills, is basically telling people who are not as fortunate as he is, as not as rich as he is, don't worry about your stuff getting stolen out of your car, right? Just don't leave anything valuable in it. Okay, it's just a fact of life, right? It's just a fact of life that, you know, criminals are gonna, you know, steal things out of cars, right? You complaining about it, calling the police, you know, being concerned about it, that's ridiculous, right? You're nuts for being concerned about that. Again, guys, you know, Hollywood and especially these Hollywood liberals, they have no issues showing off their elitism, basically showing the world that they can't relate to the everyday average person, right? Somebody who is middle class, okay, who worked hard, put in a lot of hours to, let's say, buy an expensive laptop, right? And they just so happen to leave their laptop in their car one day, and some criminal takes the laptop, right? That's, $1,000, $2,000 worth of equipment, right? Of merchandise that is gone. That person has to now work, more to try to buy another one, okay? But somebody like Seth Rogan, on the other hand, what is $1,000 to $2,000 to him? Nothing, right? What is car damage to him? Nothing. That's something that he can easily fix. He can easily get replaced, but that doesn't apply to the average everyday American, right? When the average everyday American gets their stuff stolen, particularly when it's valuable stuff, that's a big deal to them. That's a big deal. And especially considering how a lot of Americans, their second biggest assets outside of their house, if you want to define a car as an asset, that is, or at the very least is a depreciating asset, is their car, right? It's their car. So when their cars get damaged, stuff gets stolen, stuff gets broken in, sometimes, because you don't actually know who did it, the insurance company makes you pay for it, right? You got to pay for it. Okay? So again, people like him don't have to deal with that stuff, so he can just shrug it off. Quote, can I still be mad though, right? Nestes asked, adding, feel so violated. Quote, you can be mad, I guess, but I don't personally view my car as an extension of myself, and I've never really felt violated any of the 15 or so times my car was broken into. Rogan responded, once a guy accidentally left a cool knife in my car, so if it keeps happening, you might get a little treat. Again, I can't believe that this guy is literally saying out loud to the public that you should not feel violated, or you shouldn't think it's a big deal that your car got broken into just because he doesn't see his car as an extension of himself, right? He doesn't think it's a big deal, right? In fact, somebody left him a cool knife, a knife that could have been used to commit a violent crime against Seth Rogan if he actually had been in that area, right? Or in the car at the time in which the car was getting jacked, right? Who knows? Nestes told Rogan he didn't get any treats and that the thief had taken decorations for his daughter's 7th birthday party, but then asked, how did you get your car broken into 15 times? Quote, I live in West Hollywood for 20 years and parked on the street, Rogan wrote. Also, it sucks your ish was stolen, but LA is not some ish whole city. I don't know about that one, bro. I can neither confirm nor deny that. As far as big cities go, it has a lot going for it. Critics piled on the wealthy actor for being so dismissive of car burglaries in Tinseltown, many accusing him of being privileged. Quote, I don't think my car's been broken into 15 times. It's doing the pro Los Angeles work itself seems to think he's doing here. Washington Post contributing columnist Sonny Brunch reacted. Quote, I too am unbothered when one of many cars get broken into. I just asked my assistant to get it all cleaned up and repaired. What's the big deal? Tablet Magazine's Norm Blum, Mark Rogan, viewing crime as some quaint reality of urban living akin to deer eating your vegetable garden is some BS. Hollywood goggles romanticization of something that has no redeeming value and doesn't require some loss of humanity to prevent. People talk about this or that statement embodies privilege, and 95% of the time is total BS. But this, political commentator Kathy Young tweeted, I actually agree with that. Most of the time when people talk about privilege, it is BS, right? But in this instance right here, Seth Rogan is showing his liberal Hollywood elitist rich privilege by acting like, car burglaries are not a big deal. But again, like I said, if this is the type of environment, the city, the atmosphere that they want to live in, hey, it is what it is. If you're not a Hollywood elitist or rich, I don't understand why are you still living in these big cities, particularly in liberal states like California that are soft on crime. I really don't get it. I really don't get it. But hey, to each his own. It is what it is. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.